start up in a sec. Okay, we are live on camera now.
Live?
Ooh, I know.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, well, you know, I wanted to do this. I've wanted to do this film for a couple weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure out a good way to do it because we have no demos to show. There's nothing on the computer. This is just us babbling at each other. And guys, this is what we look like late at night. Here, just in case you're curious, it really is midnight. So,
Smart ass.
so, no, it's not midnight, but
Look
it's
at my watch.
But it's almost midnight. It's actually pretty late here. So, okay, I got this question from one of the users at the user group a couple weeks ago, and it proved actually pretty interesting. Stop.
Sorry.
And it actually proved pretty interesting. I'm trying to remember exactly what he asked me because now I'm just like befuddled. I've befuddled myself. But that was before we started recording. So
Nobody wants to hear about your befuddlements.
yes, I know. Okay, so the question was, it was kind of a roundabout way of asking how to go about studying was what it basically boiled down to.
Nice.
Okay?
That is a good question.
And so, and a lot of times that really kind of sounds self-explanatory. Well, you sit down and study, right? I mean, but at the same time, people get really sidetracked in this race. Okay?
Well, yeah, I know what you're going to say in advance because in school, you know, you've got to finish this chapter and then you've got to finish, you know, you've got to get through this material for the test, and then we're used to that.
Exactly. And so he was asking me basically. I mean, it came around in more of a self-serving kind of question where he was like, "So how do you do all the stuff that you do?" And okay, fine. I know exactly.
Tell us, Sean.
I know, and I hate sounding like that, but that was the exact question he asked me.
Sure
But
was.
what it, yeah, well, that's the way I'm telling it.
Yeah.
This is my story.
Sorry.
So, you know, what it really boiled down to was when I started talking to him, he, the way he studies is he'll take a book like the internals book. That's not it.
Here.
Yeah, that's not it. It's over there on the couch.
Okay.
But he'll take something like the internals book. That's not it, moron.
Well, it's not on the couch. Never mind. Go ahead.
It is. It's over there.
Go.
So anyway, and he'll say, "Okay, I have to do like 3 chapters tonight."
I've tried that before. I can't do it.
Well, not only can you not do it, but you're not learning anything. Okay, so
well, because for the same reason, there's 60 pages a piece, and then just trying to read through it.
yeah, and code and concepts and think stuff, right? I mean, that's a thick book, right? I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there. It's really heavy.
Yeah.
Not many jokes in the internals book. Kaylin, did you hear me? Not many jokes in the internals book.
God, what's up with that?
So I told him the way I study, right? And I told him, I said, it's not.
You told him the way you studied. You didn't provide pictures. Never mind.
And so, yeah, I've got a video of my befuddling.
Good.
So, really, you don't want to get through as many chapters as you can. I told him, I said, I can spend a week on a single page.
That's really not something to brag about.
I read really slow, okay?
No, but I do know what you mean.
But, like, okay, let's take the perfect example of something I did, again, very recently, because I have to do this every couple of years just to keep myself up on it, right? It's like DBCC page.
Sure.
It's a big discussion in the internals book, okay? There's different options, different things that you can experiment with, and DBCC end is the same way. Okay?
I'm nodding, but I haven't touched them
in forever, right?
Forever, too.
Well, who has? Paul. So I know you wrote that too, didn't you? So I told him, I said, you know, I'll take the page that introduces that and gives the first couple examples. And I'll go through the examples in like Northwind, or what's the new one? It's not Northwind.
AdventureWorks.
AdventureWorks. It always goes right out of my head. As soon as I say it's not Northwind, it just goes right out of my head. So I'll go through the example as it is in the book, and then I'll like go through it on a couple of my test databases I have on my desktop and kind of look around.
Yeah.
I'll go through a couple of my smaller databases at work. And then I'll do the same thing on like my really big tables at work, the ones that have like 500 and 700 million rows, and just start looking around and seeing how things look in my actual production environment.
Sure.
And the same thing with DBCC end, right? So that kind of stuff takes a long time to go through and to really absorb and to really learn and to experiment with the different options and to see And then you start going down rabbit holes on top of that.
Yeah, I was just about
right?
to say, and then once you do it, you're like, oh wow, I bet I could do this, and then you start fleshing that out, and so 90 minutes later, you've got 3 new things to put into your code vault.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You haven't gotten past the second paragraph.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do that.
And that's how you study.
That's how I study.
That's how I study.
That's how we study.
And so I almost never finish a book. I mean, actually finish a book front to cover because I'll learn a couple things and then I'll go off on a rabbit hole. I'll go off in a rabbit hole. You don't go off on rabbit holes. You go in rabbit holes.
Stupid rabbit hole. God.
So I'll go down a rabbit hole, and that'll lead me to another book, or that'll lead me to an internet resource, and I'll eventually get back to where I was. But you know me, I'm very.
It's funny. I was actually talking to somebody at work about this a couple weeks ago.
You can't hold a thought.
No, not you. That everybody I've talked to in databases, especially, but in IT in general, but especially databases, we're very, very ADD. I mean, and I don't mean that to cast this person, not to belittle actual people. I'll be quiet.
That's my job. Well, because you remember that. You
I'm
remember
the good
that.
cop.
You remember that blog post I wrote a few years ago that it was. I quoted. Was it Parents Magazine? I think it was Parents Magazine where they said that most IT
see how we can't stay on track? You see this?
I said most IT coders are have a mild form of autism, and I said, "See, I told you coders are autistic."
Oh my!
Oh my God, they went through the roof. And I quoted it.
And you just said it again.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, but yeah, you're right. You were talking about how we can't follow a train of thought.
That we're very, very here and there, and I don't know if it's which is the cause and which is the effect, or if it's just very.
We're attracted to it.
Yeah.
Kind of like assholes are attracted to be chefs. It takes a certain level of something to be able to survive.
Now
in the
Gordon
kitchen,
Ramsay is going to hunt you down, and anyway.
Really?
So yeah, I was actually having this exact problem, not the ADD, but not getting through a book. A few weeks ago, because we get books in all the time, and I keep meaning to put in some more reviews.
No.
You, I live here, so I get them too. I send them back, and
yeah, sure.
And I'm like, oh gosh, I want to read this, and then I'll get either start at the beginning and go through, or I'll flip it open and go, ooh, that's cool. And I even dedicated myself. You remember, I was trying to get through Itzik's book.
Yes, yes.
It was the 2005.
How'd that work out for you?
Something I got about
I can't even remember the title.
A third of the way through. Well, it was.
And a butterfly passed by. And
yeah, no, I did. I got through like 16 chapters, 18 chapters, something like that, and then went on to another book. That's a third of the way? It was a really, really long book.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one of the big ones, like the Internals book. I'll have to go look it up now. But yeah, I've kind of given up, and now I'm just prancing around in the joy of the new book, and look at this one.
Well, and there's really nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what those kinds of books are for, right? You don't have to sit down and read them cover to cover. It's not a novel.
And yeah, since I've started studying this way, I've built up my own code library. Just way more. Before I was just trying to sit down and read. So
yeah, well, when you understand more, I hate to say piecemeal it like that, but cafeteria style. Right? I mean, because so many things, it's not like other things. I mean, some things build on other things, and some things are just completely separate, right? And you can just take exactly what you want. So, not really switching topics off of how to read a book, but the same kind of thing. It got me thinking. This is the second half of the conversation I had with him, and then I started thinking outside of that. So, the second half of the conversation I had with him was. That I never read a book and then just put it down. So, like you look at Ken's old books.
I'm looking at all the books you've put down.
Yeah, I know.
Me too, actually.
No, but I mean, you look at Ken's old books, right?
Yeah.
You have to go back every 6 months or a year and reread some of those. His last one, the troubleshooting the data engine for SQL Server 2005. Spank you. And he didn't actually write that one, okay? He just kind of compiled it, and all the guys on the but he signed it anyway.
Yeah. He did.
All
too.
the guys on the SQL dev team are the ones that wrote that one. So you got like Slava Oaks and Ward and the other guy.
That guy.
Anyway,
he's smart too.
They're the best, So anyway, but those guys, and I know a couple of you guys personally, and y'all are going to kick my ass. One guy, I can't remember your names, but anyway, So, well, you know why? Because we were talking about Brent Ozar earlier, and I can't get his name out of my head.
Hi, Brent.
So there are books like that one, like the troubleshooting book and the internals book, that grow with you. They're written above you, and I actually talked to Ken about this on a couple of occasions, and he said I hit the nail right on the head, that he purposely wrote above people so that they could grow into a book instead of saying, yeah, I've heard most of this stuff, a couple things are new, and then just toss it aside. He wanted it to be a book that you could refer back to for like 5 years. And so far it's holding true, right?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of the books, a lot of the really good books that are written, not necessarily, the internals books, which are, but like really good, solid, mid to high level books. Right now I'm in the middle of, oh crap, Grant.
Remember, guys.
We're just talking about it.
Grant
Fritchley.
Fritchie?
Grant Fritchie or Fritchley?
Yeah, it's Fritchie.
Anyway, Grant
F.
The profiler trace. No, hang on. I'll get it. Query
Why
performance
am I
tuning
being delayed?
distilled. Score.
It's right there on the couch. I can read it from here.
That's not it. It's the yellow one. It's in my bag.
Oh, that's right. It's a new 2008 book, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one I'm dying to get into, and I haven't yet. But anyway,
it's a little small for you, isn't it?
I've been taking that book to work every day. I don't want to leave it there, and every day I go in and dig into it and say, now what was that again? And I go and look at it, and it's neat because it's right at and slightly above my level, so I keep going back to it and looking through it.
So is that a testament to your commitment to learning it, or your poor memory?
Both, actually. I have a horrifically bad memory. I mean, really bad. If I haven't.
What was that you just said? I can't remember.
Huh? What was I talking about? But it's funny because I can look at this book very easily and say, yeah, say 6-7 years ago, I'd have looked at this and not understood it at all. So it would have been a great book had it been published 6 years ago, which it hadn't. But if it had, well, it's a 2005 sequel 05 book. So anyway, that sort of grow with you thing, it's there at the super high level, like the internals books, and it's there. It's
right.
the medium to high levels, like this one.
Cool.
I concur.
Okay.
Is what
all
that
of
boils
that
down
to say,
to.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
So that was basically the end of my conversation with him, but I started thinking afterwards on the way home, because it's better than paying attention to traffic, that because I started thinking about, okay, how did I actually start learning things, right? Because I personally think that you go through phases that I call super learning, where everything just starts to click. You learn one thing that really gets you not only jazzed about learning, but also sets you up for learning for understanding the things that you're about to read, right? So I go through these phases of like a month or two of like super learning, where I just understand everything I hear.
You get that to a supernatural degree. It's weird, the stuff that happens. Something will come up like 20 minutes after he just read it. For the first time ever, he'll get asked some question, and and you've been doing that since the beginning of your career. You've been telling me about this for well over a decade.
Yeah, that's just dumb luck. But that's not exactly what I'm talking about.
But the super learning phase, yes, I've actually gone through that myself.
Yeah, because there are times when you read and you read and you try and you're just kind of in a slump. You're not inspired, you're not motivated, you're not doing anything interesting.
Yep.
And then there are other times when just everything clicks. You got projects at work that correlate with what you're doing. You learn one key piece of information that brings all this stuff together, and then you just coincidentally read the right things.
Yeah.
And then you just, boom, and you automatically go from here all the way up to here, right?
You have those moments of, whoa, I get it. I never got that before.
So you have those, and so I started thinking about how do I typically bring those about, because there's got to be a way to break a slump, right? and as a slump buster, I know what you're thinking.
I didn't say a single word.
What is that? You got to write a really piece of ugly code?
Oh my god! No formatting. Just get in there and do it.
The whole SP on one line.
Oh god! Ew, ew, ew.
So that's your slump.
We're really sorry.
Okay, so actually the time is ticking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about what it is I do. Yeah, no kidding. What it is I do to really learn. And we all know the best, or we both know the best way to learn. What is the best way to learn something?
Ingredients?
Yes.
No. What?
We both know it. To teach.
To do it. Oh, to teach.
You never learn anything until you try to teach it.
Yeah.
So it started me thinking, and this is for everybody. This is the main purpose of this. Not only how to read a book and the proper way to do things, right? But you don't have to be an MVP. You don't have to be some kind of national star. You don't have to be any kind of anything. What are you pointing at me? Because I'm not.
You're a national star.
Oh, okay. You don't have to be a national star. To teach. Start up a blog. Free blogs are everywhere. In fact, I don't know of a paid blog. Do you? They're all free, aren't they? I mean,
I actually ran across one today.
Like
said
LiveJournal,
trial.
LiveJournal and stuff has pay options.
Yeah.
But most of them are free. I mean, you got Windows Live Space, you got
Blogger, Blogspot. I think they're the same thing.
SQL blogs run by Peter and Adam Mechanic and those guys.
Mechanic.
Yeah, sure. So, starting up a blog and just start blogging. You'll be amazed not only at how hard it is to come up with blog topics every day, so maybe some of you guys will get off my back, but how to make it coherent and how to and just how to explain things, and you'll realize that, man, you really don't know as much as you think you do when you have to actually sit down and try to create a certain scenario that actually works.
Yeah.
It's harder than it looks.
Well, A, you're talking about me, aren't you? And B, it is funny because
I was hoping to hide it a little bit better than that.
And it's funny because we were just talking about this. I'm starting up a lot more, making doing blog posts
videos
and videos. Videos,
Captain.
Wessels.
Before they got fat.
And it's difficult. I mean, making videos has its own trouble. This one doesn't count, but finding your voice but it really is difficult to sit there and explain to somebody, okay, you've got to do the join this way, and you have to have a correlated subquery because you want to thing. You can't even. You think I don't see that? I feel that.
It would be like the pet detective. What the hell is his name?
Ace Ventura. No. Okay. What the hell was I saying?
You were saying something about correlated sub-people or something.
Blah, blah, blah. But it's really difficult to say these things in English and to explain them, and then you realize, wait, I don't know how this works. And you have to, I mean, the really basic things, like how a join actually compares one thing to another in the process and the thing. I was looking at something today in Grant Fritchley's book about, what the heck was it? Now I'm going to have a spacey moment. It was looking at execution plans and the different, like hash match and nested loops and things, and I was like, wait a minute. I've known this before, and now I need to go back and look at the difference between a hash match and a nested loop and a merge join, and what are these things for? And
one of them's made out of little shredded potatoes, and
ooh,
the other one's made out of powdered sticks.
Anyway, the point is, he's right, and it's difficult, and you wind up stopping yourself and going and looking something up and coming back to explain it. And the bonus is, once you start doing this, you are going to forget all these things. And then you go back and you say, wait a minute, I blogged about that. And you go back and look at your own explanation. It's going to make a lot of sense to you. We do that constantly.
I think I am Midnight DBA's biggest viewer.
Biggest customer, yeah.
Because, I mean, constantly.
If this were a pay site, you'd be losing money on yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I go back and look at my own stuff all the time because, I mean, I forget stuff just like everybody else does, right? Or even what's better is I won't just go look at it to remind myself. I'll go look at it for troubleshooting. So, like, I remember a few months ago we had a problem at work that had somebody called me over to look at an SIS package. His loop wasn't doing what it was supposed to, and I knew I had a working loop in video.
Yep.
So I went to the video and made sure that we had all of the options set correctly.
And by the way, that's one of the biggest reasons I want to start getting these videos more in text, because for a quick reference for me, I want to be able to go, we did that in this video. Let me go see what we did in the text. There's the code.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, so you can blog and you can make videos if you want, right? I mean,
Sure.
you don't have to, but you can, right? I mean, not everybody's as cool as me and can get Camtasia and stuff for free. Right, and Camtasia's, I don't know, $200 or $400. I mean, it's not horrendous, but that's a chunk of change for somebody.
Yeah,
right?
But I'm sure that there are some free solutions or cheap solutions.
Yes, there are. There is actually a very good, not shareware. What's the word?
Freeware.
Open source.
Ah,
that's the word I'm looking for, because open source is one word. There's a very good open source screen capture, and I forget the name of it, but just look up open source screen capture in Google or Yahoo, right? Or maybe, bing, and
every single time I was telling the guys at work today, every single time I hear that bing.com, I think,
bing,
Chandler Bing. Every time drives me crazy. I wish they'd have chosen any other name.
Okay, so not only that, but teach. Speak at your user group.
Ooh, yeah.
If you can't speak at your user group, because I realize it's really hard to get in at the user group, teach lunch classes at work.
I've actually been thinking about that. But since I'm the new guy, I don't know how well that would be received.
I think it would be received just fine.
We'll see.
I mean, you don't have to be a star to start getting your feet wet. I know there's not an MVP I know that doesn't test out their big material for the big summits on user groups. And
It's a good tip. Go to your user group meeting and meet MVPs and get their material.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I don't mean like that. I mean free training. It's just like going to tech ed, only with pizza.
Just change a couple of the column names.
That's not what I meant. I didn't mean don't steal material. Don't do that.
But yeah, I mean, we all do it. As a matter of fact, I know there's a guy I know who was getting ready to speak at the SQL Saturday in Louisiana a couple weeks ago. And he spoke at our user group because he said, I need to try out my material on y'all.
Absolutely. You got to practice.
Yeah, you got to practice. And what better place than teaching for 4 or 5 people at work than to start getting your rap down and start getting your feet wet and start learning how to teach and figuring out what things work for you and don't work for you.
Sure.
Like I've discovered my big weakness as a teacher is PowerPoints. Oh, God, I hate PowerPoints.
Really? I love PowerPoints.
You know what my PowerPoints end up looking like? Just a big bulleted list on a slide, another big bulleted list on a slide. And I much prefer to just stay in the code. But you see these guys with PowerPoints with things moving and all. And you know what? A few times I've sat down and tried. I'm going to sit down and make out a PowerPoint with all these moving things. I get like half a slide done and go, oh, God, I'm so bored. And I can't do it, and it's not doing what I want it to, and I can't figure out I don't care. I'll tell you what, if I ever teach at Tech Ed or something where I have to have a slide deck, I'll let you make my slide deck for me.
Golly.
I know, I'm just that kind of guy. I really am. But, so I've discovered that I'm just not a PowerPoint guy, right? If I have slides, I'll have like a beginning slide, an intro slide. Here's who I am, here's what I do, so on and so on. And then I'll basically copy that and rearrange a couple things for the ending slide. And then the middle slide will say
a big
demos.
Picture of me.
It'll say demos in the middle, and that's it. So yeah, I'm just not. I have a slide deck I did for the user group thing I did on backups earlier this year, maybe it was last year. And it's just one slide after another of bullet points. So stop that.
I'm sorry. Well, it's late. You were going to say something. Oh, yeah, on getting your voice. Just one quick additional tip.
See how long we've been talking?
Oh, God. It's time to get up. That thing with the deal. Oh, finding your voice if you do wind up doing videos. He's been pointing out to me that my teaching style needs a little bit of work because I'm not a teacher.
Well, whatever do you mean?
I've never really done it before. I don't explain things well, so it's been very good to me to try. I don't do well unless I have someone to speak to. So if I'm just sitting down in front of the computer trying to do, a demo, I get tangled up. I get too formal. Today we will be speaking about. But I mean, today I did a video and I sat my 10-year-old daughter down and I said, "Sit here, be quiet, and nod at me," and it worked out really well. She did. It's great because I actually got some feedback from her. I was talking to the screen and sort of her too, and I was like, "La la la, is that clear?" And I looked over and she's going, "Well, okay," and I re-explained it, and it actually did come out better that way. So, if you can't pretend to speak to real people, then actually get a real person and sit them down and record yourself while you're if you're recording.
I'm gonna say this. You may remember this from a long time ago.
I remember nothing.
Yeah, well,
Nothing
fair enough. But when I first started doing stuff, and even I don't remember what it is now, but when I first started teaching stuff, I would teach to my dog.
Really?
It was when not when I first started doing these videos.
The smartest dog.
Yeah, I know, right? I think it might have been when I was doing some Kimpo stuff. But I remember I used to I was sitting in the chair and I was over there at the computer. And the dog was right in front of me, and you know what? Not only does it give you somebody to talk to, they're incredibly attentive.
Yeah, you're talking to me.
And you get reactions out of them. And if you say something just the right way, oh, you understood that. Excellent.
Wouldn't Kimpo for your dog be an excellent blog title?
If you say so.
Oh,
I think it'd make a better casserole.
What?
I don't know. But anyway, I think it's getting time to sign off, huh?
Pretty close here. Is anyone still... Hello?
Is anybody still here? Hello? So, anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. I wanted to have this discussion about studying and how to study and how to start getting... Because there's a big disconnect between, what we'll call the general public or civilians, right? Who think that they have to be some kind of big somebody to open up a blog, or that they have to be some kind of big recognized something to teach. And you don't have to teach at a national or an international level at Tech Ed or at PASS. To teach, start teaching at work and teach to 3 and 5 people and get your rap down and get comments and feedback from them and start learning how to teach and start figuring out what works for you, and then move up to your user group, and then from your user group then move up to PASS or move up to SQL Saturday or something like that has an even bigger audience. It's kind of like between your user group and PASS, right? So SQL Saturday will be there, and then move up to PASS, and then from there try to get into Tech Ed, and by then you've got speaking creds, right? So you can work your way up, and at the same time you're teaching stuff. And if you set up a regular session like once a month at work, then you force yourself to come up with topics, and you force yourself to research topics. You force yourself to research them well enough to be able to teach them and to come up with code examples. It's an excellent, excellent way to learn something.
Yeah, it is. That's been one of the biggest things I've had to overcome, is that feeling that I'm being really, really presumptuous by saying, well, I'll make training videos. What do I know? I don't know anything.
Yeah.
It turns out I know a little bit.
A little bit.
I know more than some other people. I think that's the key thing, is you always know more than somebody else.
Yeah, exactly.
No more than your dog.
Well, and I just got finished taking and I know we said it was time to sign off, but I just got finished taking an SIS class online. It was Pragmatic Works. It was Brian Knight's company, and his brother Devin gave the class. And the first 2 days, the guy was I was emailing with him, and he was going, "Oh man, sorry for the boring class today, but we got to cover the basics and the thing. I know it's horrible and I know it's boring." And I'm like, "Dude, stop it." It's a beginning class. I understand these things. You got to cover the basics. And he goes, "Well, I know you're just going to be bored." And I said, "Well, you'd actually be surprised." I said, "Number one, you can almost never hear the basics too much. I mean, there does come a point when you're hearing the basics too much, right? But also, you never know what experience somebody has. And somebody in a BI company run by his brother, who happens to be Brian Knight, who's one of the better SIS people out there, when you get in a class taught by him, you never know what little tidbit of a basic you're going to pick up. When he'll say, oh, and by the way, when you're creating a project this, or oh, by the way, you can do this and a thing, you'll be like, wow, really? I never even thought of that before. So it doesn't happen often, but you never know when something like that's going to happen. So I don't mind the basics because everybody considers different things for basics. So, you know, if you're making a basic blog post or a basic video or a basic course, it doesn't really matter that some of the stuff has been heard by most people. Try to throw some stuff in there that you're relatively sure hasn't been. You know?
Sure.
If you can find something like that.
If you can.
Yeah.
You look so bleary-eyed.
I know, I am. So, it's definitely time for us to make another video so we can go to bed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. Wait a minute. Another video?
No, I'm good. Let's go. The next one can be...
How to stop talking when it's late at night. How to end a video in 30 minutes or less.
How to pick a spouse that can tell you to shut up.
Yeah, I know.
No, talk more. Okay, we're going now.
We're
really.
going now.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.
No, really. We're leaving. I
Bye
gotta
now.
turn it off now.
See you later.